ifade etmek istiyorum.
And I would like to express how important this summit is that we are here gathering for.
NATO Liderler Zirvesi'nin bugün Ankara'da yapılıyor olması ve tüm liderlerin şu anda ülkemizde bir araya gelmesi, yarın değerli dostum Sayın Trump'la birlikte olması bizlere ayrı bir güç katacaktır.
The fact that we are convening here today for the NATO Ankara Summit and that all the leaders are arriving and have arrived, and we will be executing the NATO Summit tomorrow with the presence of President Trump, which will be adding might and strength to our summit.
Kendilerine tekrar hoş geldiniz diyorum.
Once again, I would like to say welcome, Mr. President.
Well, I want to thank you very much. As everybody knows, it's been very much reported. We are great friends. The President has done an incredible job. Just landing at the airport, to see such a beautiful airport, and to have a building named after me. I was very happy about that. That was very nice. The airport is absolutely beautiful. The roads coming in were brand new and beautiful, and you've been a great leader and a respected leader all over the world, and we really do. We've had right from the beginning good chemistry. We've had a very special relationship. Turkey has become, under the president, a very powerful country militarily. People don't know how powerful, actually. And they have a lot of our equipment. And they have a lot of great soldiers, and they really somebody to be reckoned with. And the nice part is that because of the relationship that we have, it's all gone very well. I just want to say that I have a lot of respect for the president, and I think it's really to the benefit of both countries. We're going to be talking today about trade. We're going to be talking about other things having to do with the military, lots of different things. Probably we'll mention Iran, where we have essentially decimated their military. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. And we're going to have some very good discussions. But we do a lot of trade with Turkey. We make great things and they make great things, and we've had it's had a very big impact on both of our countries. So I just want to tell you that it's an honor to be with you, and we're going to have a lot of good meetings. We're going to have good dinners, good food. We're going to have a good time, but mostly we're going to have a lot of work, and we're going to do good things for our countries. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, tamamıyla geldiniz. Çok teşekkür ediyorum efendim. Çok uzun süren bir dostluğumuz var biliyorsunuz. Son derece saygı duyduğum, yakın bulduğum bir insansınız. Buradaki buluşmalarımızda, görüşmelerimizde 3 konudan bahsedeceğiz. Askeri, ticari ve bir de İran konusundan bahsedeceğiz. Gerçekten çok güçlüsünüz. Çok güçlü askeri ve silah sanayi açısından çok güçlü bir yerisiniz şu anda. Dolayısıyla teşekkür ediyorum ve çok iyi bir vakit geçirdiğinize inanıyorum.
Thank you.
Mr. President, are you going to sell F-35s to Turkey, and what about the legal restrictions?
It's a decision we're going to make. We have a very good relationship. I would think that many people, I can tell you, many people, including the people sitting right here, thinks, why wouldn't we do that? We have a better relationship with Turkey, and Turkey has been in many ways much more loyal than other countries that we think would be loyal. So, yeah, something certainly we would consider. It's a great plane. It's the best, currently the best plane by far. And it's certainly something we will consider, yeah.
Mr. President, sir.
On the
Yes,
S-400.
Daniel?
Mr. President, sir, you said, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that President Erdogan was a big reason you wanted to come to the summit here. What has made your relationship with him so special, in your own words, and what do you broadly hope to achieve here at the
You
summit?
never know why a relationship is special. Some people you get along with, and some people you don't. Sometimes you get along with the toughest people, like him, and sometimes you don't get along with the weakest, most pathetic people. You just don't get along. Maybe you don't respect them, but from From the day we met, we got along. We had a pastor, as I remember his name was Pastor Brunson, and it was a very big thing, and it was very traumatic. He was sentenced to a long-term prison sentence, and I felt he was innocent, and I called. Other people called, they got nowhere. I called the president, and he released him immediately. It was something that the evangelical community will never forget. And he was a good man, Pastor Brunson. So, just things like that, we just it's always worked out. And I think it's been from the very beginning, from the first moment. I said it before, it's a chemistry that works between us. There were those that I don't have a good chemistry with, I will tell you that. And we worked that out too.
Mr. President, are further troop drawdowns in Europe likely? Are you likely to announce further troop drawdowns in Europe?
Say it?
Are further troop drawdowns in Europe likely? And are you satisfied with the progress that NATO allies have
Well,
made?
we're going to see. I was very disappointed with NATO. And frankly, if it weren't held in Turkey, where my friend happens to be a very strong leader, a very strong person, it's possible that I would have attended. I felt I had to attend because of the fact that, I know he's gone all out. It was a big thing to have NATO come to Turkey or any place else. It's a big thing. But we weren't treated well because we did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want their help. But before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there. And we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO. Why? To protect European countries and others, Canada, etc., but to protect people, countries from, generally speaking, it used to be the Soviet Union, now it's Russia. And I say that's fine, but you would think that they'd be very willing to do something to help us. And they really weren't. In the case of the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister, I guess he's no longer there, maybe because of this. It was a very unpopular thing he did. He said, "No, we'll help after the war is over." I said, "I don't need that kind of help." We didn't need any help at all. And in a way, I was testing people. I was testing to see whether or not they'd be there, because I'd long said that we helped them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And Italy turned us down, and Germany turned us down, and France turned us down. And it's okay. But, why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars and they're not there for us? We've always been there for them.
Türkiye ile Suriye arasında Türkiye'de...
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, bir saniye. Habertürk TV Karaca, efendim, İran'daki savaşın sona erdirilmesi için oldukça çaba sarf ettiniz. Müzakere süreci devam ediyor ancak nihai bir anlaşma noktasına gelinmiş değil. Bundan sonraki süreçte Türkiye nasıl adım atacak İran ve ABD arasındaki müzakere sürecinin olumlu bir şekilde neticelenmesi için?
Bu süreçte yine aynı şekilde bizler İran-Amerika ilişkilerini nasıl bir düzleme kavuştururuz? Onun gayreti içerisindeyiz. Elimizden geleni yapmak suretiyle dünya barışına bir adım atalım diye gerek şahsım, gerek arkadaşlarım hep birlikte çalışıyoruz.
Efendim, Türkiye-ABD ilişkilerinin geliştiği bir...
Gazze'ye sormak isterim ben sizlere. 80 bine yakın insan hayatını kaybetti Gazze'de. Çok büyük bir yıkım var. Ateşkes sağlandı ama yer yer bu ihlaller devam ediyor. Ateşkes ihlallerinin önlenmesi için, insani yardımların Gazze'ye girebilmesi için, ayrıca Gazze'nin yeniden inşa edilebilmesi için önümüzdeki süreçte ortak atabileceğiniz adımları değerlendirecek misiniz muhatabınızla? Müsaade buyururlarsa kendisinin de bu konudaki fikirlerini almak isteriz. Teşekkür ederiz efendim.
Özellikle Gazze konusunda tabii değerli dostumla bunları da konuşarak özellikle bu bölgedeki barışı sağlama için bu liderler zirvesini çok önemsiyoruz. Ve bu liderler zirvesinden aynı şekilde bir kararın çıkmasını da hayra yorumluyoruz. Ve bunun olabileceğine de ben ihtimal veriyorum.
Efendim, Türkiye-ABD ilişkilerinin geliştiği bir dönemi gözlemliyoruz. 2025 yılında geçen yıl Amerika Birleşik Devletleri'ne yaptığımız ziyarette önemli ticari anlaşmalar da imzalandı. Suriye konusunda Türkiye'nin önemli bir aktör olduğunu söylemişti Sayın ABD Başkanı. Şimdi yeni dönemde gelmeden önce de Sayın Trump bir sürprizle geliyorum ifadesini kullandı. F-35'i, Kaan savaş uçaklarının motorlarını konuştuk. Acaba gündeme gelebilir mi şeklinde. Siz bu sürprizin ne olduğunu düşünüyorsunuz? Türkiye bugünkü görüşmelerden sonra istediğini alabilecek mi? Teşekkür ederim.
Tabii F-35 konusu biliyorsunuz bizim için yeni bir konu değil. Ve bunu bizler Amerika ile daha önce de görüştük. Ve biz 5 uçağı da sözünü aldık ve Sayın Trump'ın bu konuda bize ayrıca sözü var ve şimdi de bu liderler zirvesinde yapacağımız görüşmelerde F-35 ile ilgili kendilerinden bu daha önce aldığımız sözün ben geleceğe yönelik olumlu şekilde test ettiğimizi biliyorum ve bu konuda da Sayın Trump her zaman sözünün arkasındadır. Burada yine inşallah F-35 konusunda bu liderler zirvesinden hayırlı bir karar çıkacağına inanıyorum.
Are the Russian missile defense system going to be handed over to a third party as part of any deal with F-35s?
What does that mean?
Is it going to be handed over to a third party? Is that not part of the deal?
Third party? What is the third? With respect to what?
There's our concerns about the Russian missile defense system. Do you have those concerns about this system? Are they going to have
I
to?
have no concerns at all about anything. I mean, he's a leader of a country that he's made a much better country, much more powerful country, and you see it. I mean, it's beautiful. You get off the roads of your life. It's an amazing thing. Now, I have no concerns about anything having to do with Turkey. The relationship, I would say the relationship with Turkey right now is better probably than it's ever been. It was good in my first 4 years, but I think now it's probably even better than that, if that's possible.
Mr. President, so U.S. military and Turkish military constitute a really strong and large military base for NATO. Are we expecting further defense cooperation out of this bilateral meeting, out of this NATO summit here in Ankara?
Well, we're going to find out when I go there. We're going to find out. We're going to be having meetings. I'm very friendly with many of the leaders. Some of them are new. We don't know them. I've been doing this for now sort of a long time. If you count the 4 years where we had a rigged election, I was very much into politics then too. But I spent the first 4 years. I spent 4 years in a little different state, and then we've had an amazing, probably the best year maybe ever had by an American president. When you look at the economy, we have the greatest economy we've ever had. We have $19 trillion, $19.2 trillion to be exact, being invested in the United States. That's 7 or 8 times more than it's ever. It's a world record, not just a U.S. record. And I just read where, in fact, coming over, I was in the car with those beautiful horses, those great riders, those great soldiers, and it came over the wires that Toyota is moving out of Mexico into the United States and building one of the biggest truck and car plants ever built. And it's amazing. That's what tariffs do, properly used. And so we've never had a more exceptional economy or potential economy. There's never been anything like it. Under the last administration, they did much less than $1 trillion of investment coming in. And we're at 19.2 trillion in actually the first 12 months, because that's where it's, really, so we're there a year and a half, so that number is now substantially higher. But 19.2 trillion, Scott, for a period of 12 months. Nobody's ever said anything like that. So we have by far the greatest economy. We have more jobs right now in the United States than ever before. And we have a great relationship with some countries on trade, and Turkey happens to be one of them.
Dünya 5'ten büyük. Efendim, Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı, siz her fırsatta Dünya 5'ten büyüktür, daha adil bir dünya mümkündür diyorsunuz. Bugün konuğunuz Sayın Trump, ABD Başkanı, onun da zaman zaman küresel sistemin mevcut durumuna ilişkin eleştirilerini biliyoruz. NATO'nun iki en büyük askeri gücü olarak bu noktada, bu eleştiriler doğrultusunda ortak bir adım, ortak bir girişimde bulunması önümüzdeki süreçte söz konusu olabilir mi?
NATO'da iki önemli ülke olarak gerek Amerika gerekse Türkiye, bizler bu liderler zirvesinden de dayanışma içerisinde güçlü bir çıkışı sağlayacağız ve bunu da başaracağımıza inanıyoruz.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı 24 muhabiri Yağmur Yıldız, Rusya-Ukrayna savaşı konusunda savaşın başından bu yana ara buluculuk tesis ettiğiniz iki ülkenin Dışişleri Bakanlarını Antalya Diplomasi Forumu'nda bir araya getirdiniz. İstanbul'da çok önemli müzakereler yürüttünüz. Bu zirve kapsamında da Sayın Trump'ın Sayın Zelenski ile görüşeceğini biliyoruz. Nihai aşama olarak hangi noktadayız? Savaşın sonlanması konusundaki Trump'la ilişkin değerlendirmeniz nedir? Teşekkürler.
Is that for me? Are you asking me, or are you asking the president?
No, for President, I don't think you. Sayın
President.
Başkanı, size.
Biz Rusya-Ukrayna arasındaki bu gelişmeleri de yine değerli dostumla burada paylaşacağız, görüşeceğiz ve ona göre de adımlarımızı atacağız.
Efendim, A Haber Televizyon kanalından Hatice Kübra Bal, benim sorum da aslında az önce biraz yanıtladınız ama Türkiye'nin 5. nesil uçağı Kaan motorları için F-110 motorlarından söz edeceğiz. Aynı zamanda kasa yaptırımları ve bu bağlamda da F-35 alımı ile ilgili aslında bu görüşmeden bir sonuç bekleyebilir miyiz? Onu merak ediyorum.
Ben bunu daha önce değerli dostumla görüştüm ve Kaan'la ilgili onun motorları noktasında bu liderler zirvesinde bu görüşmeyi değerli dostumla tekrar bir araya geldik. Onu görüşeceğiz ve inanıyorum ki bununla ilgili bize verdiği müjdeyi burada da tekrar edecektir ve bu müjdeyle de herhalde liderler zirvesinde kendisine teşekkür edeceğiz.
I might add that Turkey bought planes. It's the best plane, but they bought planes from the United States. And when you buy a plane from the United States, if there's engine rehab and other things that are done to engines, there's various things that happen, including just maintenance. I think we have an obligation to maintain engines and help them maintain engines. When you buy a plane from us, what are we going to say? You're buying a plane if the engine needs work or if the engine has to be rehabilitated or even upgraded somewhat, but I think we have an obligation to do it. What are you going to do? Say, I'm not going to do that? Look, Turkey's been, I know, a lot of people don't agree, although I think with time they're starting to agree. Turkey has been a great ally for us. Turkey could have gone on the side. They know Iran very well, and they know the problems with Iran. But they've been very instrumental, along with a couple of other countries, of helping. They could have gotten into the fight. And I hear some people saying about their relationship with Israel. They could have gotten into the fight. They're a very powerful military nation. They didn't do that. Maybe they didn't do that because of me, but they could have gotten into the fight on the other side. They are a nation that's been very, very good, and I can speak for myself as president. They've been extraordinary in many ways with respect to our relationship, including trying to end the war with Iran, or whatever you call it. It's not even a war, it's a military operation. It's a denuclearization. That's really what it is, of Iran, because I don't think he wants to see them have a nuclear weapon either. I'm pretty sure of that. In fact, I'm totally sure of that. So, but when they buy a product from us, whether it's a plane or anything else, when it's time for maintenance, I think don't we have an obligation to help them? What are we going to do? Say we're not going to let you use the product that you spent a lot of money in buying? And especially when it's been somebody that frankly has been more helpful to the United States than many other more traditional countries.
Mr. President, you will meet President Zelensky tomorrow, sir. You will meet President Zelensky tomorrow. Should we expect a breakthrough soon? Where are we at Ukraine talks?
I do. I had a very good talk with President Putin, who, by the way, has a lot of respect for President Erdogan, a lot of respect for him. We had a long talk yesterday. It lasted a long time, and I also spoke with President Zelensky right after that. I think they both want to make a deal. It's too bad it took so long, but I think there's going to be something's going to come out, and the president's also helping us with that. But I think there's something. I settled 8 wars, and I think we're going to be settling. And it doesn't seem likely now, but sometimes with war, I see when it's least likely, that's when it happens. I had a very good talk with President Putin. I had a very good talk with, I would say, as a combination. A lot of times I'd do well with Putin, and Zelensky would be a problem, or vice versa. Zelensky would be great, and Putin would be. They both want to get it settled now. More than that, that's all I do in my life is deals. I know deals. And I think I think we're going to get it settled. Hopefully soon. Last month, 35,000, mostly soldiers, died. The month before that, it was 24,000. The month before that, it was 27,000. And the month before that, it was 29,000. But last month, it was 35,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, died. And that's crazy.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, savunma sanayi işbirliklerinden bahsediyoruz ancak savunma sanayi işbirliğimizi sürdürebilmemiz için Amerika'nın katsayı yaptırımlarını da kaldırmış olması gerekiyor. Sayın Büyükelçi Barak burada, kendisinin bu konuda aslında mesajları da oldu geçtiğimiz aylarda. Sayın Başkanım da bu konuda olumlu düşündüğünü biliyoruz. Hem ticaret hacmi hedefine ulaşmak hem de NATO zirvesinde burada Sayın Trump gelmeden önce de açıkladılar. Aslında Türkiye'nin hattıyla zirveye katıldığını da açıkladılar ama aynı zamanda katsayı yaptırımlarının Türkiye'ye uygulanıyor olmasında bir tezat olduğu düşünülüyor. Bu noktada, bu görüşmede artık somut bir netice alınabilir mi? Ayrıca siz bunu gündeme taşıyacaksınızdır. Muhtemelen Sayın Başkan'ın da bu konudaki düşüncelerini alabilirsem mutlu olurum. Teşekkür ediyorum.
I can tell you, we're going to be taking the sanctions off. Okay? I don't want him to waste his time answering that question because we're working very closely with Marco Rubio, very famous man, great Secretary of State, and with Scott Bessent, and with Pete and everybody else. We're going to be taking the sanctions off. It's time to do that. Okay?
Mr. President, you said that
We don't want to sanction friends. It's very simple. There's plenty of people we can sanction, and we are sanctioned. We don't want to sanction friends. And because of the president, we have a very good relationship with the new leader of Syria, and he's done an amazing job. In a year and a half, he's pulled the whole country together. And I have a very great relationship with him. And somebody said, well, he's pretty rough to put him there. I approved him along with the president. We were the two that really wanted him, and he's done a great job. He's done a great job. He's pulled it together. Not an easy job.
Mr. President,
Can you clarify what you meant with your social media post yesterday with respect to Prime Minister Maloney? That True Social post with the restraining order?
Oh, I don't know. I think she's a nice person, actually. We had a bad relationship, but it became a little bad because she refused to help us. Again, I didn't put a heavy press on her, but she refused to get involved with the Hormuz Strait, or you could also say just Iran. She refused to get involved. So it soured my relationship with her a little bit. But I like her. I think she's a nice person, actually. But I think she made a mistake. They get a lot of their oil from... We don't get any oil. We have a lot of oil. The United States has more oil than anybody. And when you add Venezuela to it, it's like we have far more oil than anybody. We don't need the straits. We do this because we think it's an important thing to do. But she just wasn't there for us. And I wasn't happy about it. can imagine, I wasn't happy about that.
Mr. President, you seem to express optimism that a deal between Russia and Ukraine is close. Why do you think that? What conditions have changed? Did Putin seem
About with what?
Russia-Ukraine? Did Putin seem open to any concessions that he
Never
had?
changed. I just don't want him killing people. You know, it doesn't affect the United States. When Biden was here, he gave them hundreds of billions of dollars worth of equipment. Now I sell the equipment for, fair price, full price. And I sell it not to Ukraine, I sell it to the European Union. They pay us. But with me, it's not anything to do other than I'd like to save lives. You have 25, 35, 30. One time it hit 41,000 a month souls. They're dead. They leave their mother in Ukraine. They leave their mother and father in Russia, Ukraine. They wave goodbye. And a week later, they're dead. It's crazy. And I would like to see, it doesn't affect us. It's really, it's far away. It affects Europe much more. We're there to help Europe. But it doesn't affect the United States. We have an ocean in between. But, it's just, I can't stand watching what's happening. I've seen the pictures of those battlefields, and it's a drone war. It's a war of drones. It's a whole new technology. And we're actually the leader in drones now. We have the most sophisticated drones, but people wouldn't believe how violent it is. And I've seen the battlefields. They send me pictures. I actually want to say, don't send them to me. Pete, this man right here sends me pictures. Pete X said. And I said, Pete, you know what? Doesn't help to look. I've never seen anything like it. It's carnage. And it should stop.
Did Putin seem open to any concessions? Did Putin seem open to any concessions to end the war? Did Putin seem open to any concessions to end the war in your call with him?
We get along very well with both, and we're going to get it settled. And President Erdogan is helping us get it settled, as he's helping with Iran. Well, that's what Erdogan relationship with NATO. President helping Denmark. Denmark doesn't spend money to really help Greenland, but it's an important part for the United States. And it's surrounded by China ships and Russian ships. And that's not going to happen. Ships, it's not going to happen. It was Greenland that, and it continues to be, that should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. And when they wouldn't go along with it, and with all the money we spend to help them with Russia, and we don't have to spend any money, we could remove all of our soldiers out of Europe. Because as you probably noticed, Europe's a very different place than it was 20 years ago. A lot different, much different. Much different, and they better be careful with immigration and energy. If they're not careful with those two things, you're not going to have a Europe anymore.
Mr. President,
Well, thank you very much. We just got back from a wonderful group of people, Faith and Freedom, and now we have something else that I've been working on for a long time with the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, who's a fantastic man, and Ben Carson and everybody else up here. And I'm delighted to be joined by some of our nation's greatest champions of faith and religious freedom to receive the report of the Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty, which is a very big deal. And here today are members of the commission. They showed up for every meeting, and they take it very seriously, and they are very serious people. Chairman Dan Patrick, and I want to thank you, Dan, because you've done a fantastic job. Fantastic job. Vice Chairman Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, my friend. He was originally my opponent. He ran very, very tough. I didn't like running against him. He was very tough. He was a tough one. But he's a great gentleman. Attorney General Todd Blanche. Where's Todd? Todd? You're doing good. Everybody tells me what a good job you're doing. I agree. They're all, even the senators are all saying, well, he's doing a great job. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner. Scott, thank you. Dr. Ryan Anderson. Ryan, thank you very much. Bishop Robert Barron, Attorney Allison Ho, Dr. Phil, some would call him Dr. Phil McGraw. We all know him as Dr. Phil, one of the most successful people ever on television, I might add. Thank you, Phil. President and CEO of First Liberty Institute, Kelly Shackelford. Kelly, thank you. Rabbi Mir Solovicek. Thank you, Rabbi. Pastor Paula White has been with the campaign from day one. And Jenny Korn worked with Paula so well. We got, I think, 94% of the vote, the evangelical vote. Nobody's ever gotten a number like that. And we're very honored, and part of it is because of the people standing behind me. The director of the White House Domestic Policy Council, Vince Haley. He used to be my speechwriter, now he went on to policy. And he's doing a great job. He's a fantastic guy. In May of last year, I established the Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty to outline threats to the free exercise of religion in our country and to provide recommendations for action. America was founded by people of faith, and it was settled as a haven for religious freedom, so important. As we prepare to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our founding next week, it is only appropriate that we work to strengthen this fundamental right and to most essentially have liberty for generations to come. We want religious liberty. We want liberty, but we also want religious liberty. We will closely study this report that is being presented to me as president today, and my administration will continue to work with the pillars of protecting religious liberty for all Americans, and we must also remain one nation under God. We will never let that phrase be stolen from us. You know, people are trying to steal it. We all know that very well. That phrase will never be stolen. It will stand proudly in our courts and everywhere else where we have it. And I want to thank this great team of outstanding work, and I'd like to start off with the chairman, Dan Patrick, and say a few words about the report, and followed by a couple of the people that I know up here so well, and they're going to speak at random if they want, but it will be followed by Vice Chairman Dr. Ben Carson. So, Dan, if you would, you'll start it off, and then Ben, and then you could say a few words, everybody, as you want. Thank you.
Yes, sir. First of all, Mr. President, thank you for hosting us today, and thank you for establishing this commission. It was just 13 months ago when we stood in the Rose Garden. Now it's an incredibly beautiful Rose Garden today. We just stood there and we talked about religious liberty, and that no president in our history has stood more for God than this president. He has been unashamed to speak the word of Jesus. He's been unashamed to speak up for all faiths. And he established this commission so that we would assure Americans their religious liberty, that this great inheritance from our founding fathers would continue for another 250 years. And Mr. President, we believe this will be one of your greatest legacies, and you happen to be the perfect president to be here in the 250th celebration. The question is, what is religious liberty? It's our conscience. It's that little voice inside of us that tells us right from wrong. It's that voice that when we're in trouble we can talk to in our quiet moments. It's that voice when we feel unloved and alone that can comfort us through a higher power. When governments can take away your religious liberty, they're putting their hand in your heart and taking everything you believe in. And if governments can do that, then they become God. The president spoke earlier today of the communist threat in this country. We know what communists do around the world. They remove God. They close the churches. They punish the believers. And so this is so important at this point in time in history. And we didn't know about this communist movement a year ago when we were here. But this is the perfect time to stand up and say to America, you have been given this great inheritance and you deserve to have religious liberty. The key is that after 103 witnesses, after 7 months of testimony, after 200 pages of testimony that we're delivering today, we found there was one constant theme. The overwhelming majority of our witnesses said that they were attacked and punished, and what was used against them was one phrase that's not in the Constitution, and that phrase is separation of church and state. The left has used that one phrase that was one line out of one of hundreds of letters by Thomas Jefferson to batter and hammer people of faith for the last 70 to 80 years. And this report will speak very clearly that we want to be sure Americans understand that they cannot be attacked by that phrase any longer. So we have 12 recommendations. I'll read the first 6. My great Vice Chairman will read the next 6, and then members will speak to these issues. So, Mr. President, recommendation number 1, instruct the Department of Justice to issue guidance clarifying the proper understanding of the Establishment Clause and the separation of church and state. Number 2, the Department of Justice, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission shall issue Know Your Rights posters for students, parents, public teachers, administrators, religious leaders, religious institution, healthcare workers, and military service members. Ben Carson, I'll let you finish with the remaining 7. 6. Go ahead.
Combat anti-Semitism through enforcement of civil rights laws, litigation of credible allegations of anti-Semitic discrimination and violence, and civic education. Protect religious Americans from government-led litigation targeting their free exercise. Repeal the Johnson Amendment. Order the Department of War to streamline and improve the religious accommodation process. Continue efforts to restore the retirement or re-enlistment eligibility of service members who lost employment, health insurance, pensions, and other benefits because of their religious beliefs about COVID and vaccines. And lastly, honor the courage of religious liberty heroes through creating a Presidential Medal of Religious Liberty and First Freedom Hero Awards to recognize Americans who stand up for religious freedom and play an indispensable role in protecting citizens' constitutional rights. And Mr. President, we just want to thank you, first of all, for appointing us to this commission, and secondly, for your steadfast dedication to religious liberty. I don't think anybody has done as much as you have, maybe not everybody else put together. And some people in the beginning thought it was just fake, it was just politics, but you've been steadfast throughout the whole thing. And it's a big part of America. Our founding document says that our rights come from our Creator and not from government. And people who try to divorce us from that heritage, do they realize that that's in our founding document? Do they realize that our Pledge of Allegiance says we are one nation under God? Do they realize that many courtrooms in the land on the wall it says in God we trust? That every coin in their pocket, every bill in their wallet says in God we trust? So if it's in all those places, but we're not supposed to talk about it, maybe we need to see a psychiatrist.
Thank you.
Other members?
Would anybody like to say anything? Anybody? Dr. Phil?
Mr. President, I want to underline that this wasn't a performative commission. I remember walking in there, the Attorney General's there, I walk in the next one, the President of the United States is there, seeing what's going on with the commission. And what stuck out at me, for me, is how many Americans showed up saying that they were persecuted in healthcare, military, education, different walks of life for living their faith and standing up for their faith. It's not just the liberty to choose which house of worship they want. It's actually getting into their daily life, and they're being persecuted in their jobs, in their professions. And that's where the fight for liberty is actually showing up. And they're having the courage to come and talk about that. They can't show a cross on their desk at school. They can't refuse a vaccine because it's against their religion. And they're having the courage to stand up for that, and President Trump is backing them all the way. And this commission is making it all transparent. And I'm just very honored to have been part of that.
Thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate your support. You're a great gentleman. Thank you. Anybody?
Yep. Mr. President, just thank you for creating this commission. As we celebrate the 250th, we're reminded that we're created equal, we're endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights, that the right to religious freedom for the founders is because of duties to the Creator. What we heard over and over during our commission hearings were people who thought that the Creator should be banished from the public square, that the Establishment Clause meant that religion had to be kept in a closet. We saw over and over again students being told they can form a club, but not if it's a religious club. They can speak at commencement, but not if they mention God. Parents can get vouchers, but not if they use it at a religious school. Over and over again, double standards where religious Americans were victimized. And then we saw unjust ideologies, particularly trans ideology, where parents were told we're going to secretly transition your kids. Medical doctors were told if you blow the whistle on this, we're going to harass you, over and over again. The recommendation that I really want to encourage you to make prominent is the last one that Dr. Carson read. Who a community celebrates shows what a community values. And we should be celebrating the heroes of religious liberty. Over and over again, we saw men and women who were victimized, and then they fought back and they won. And we should celebrate those heroes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'll just add first how grateful I am for the privilege of serving on this commission and for being given the opportunity to work for the religious liberty of all Americans. Dr. Carson, as part of the recommendations of this commission, mentioned fighting against anti-Semitism, fighting against Jew hatred. And of course, your administration has been so incredible in the way that it's worked on this issue. I'll be heading back now for Shabbat to New York. As you know, the Jewish community there faces a lot of threats, and it's a scary time in New York right now.
Serious threats.
Very serious threats, as you mentioned in your speech today. And I, for one, am profoundly grateful for your leadership on this matter and the incredible leadership of the Justice Department on this matter and of the entire administration.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is the report, and it was just presented to me by the group. Beautiful. And you'll all get a copy of this during the day, and you'll see it's quite a report. A lot of very important things in this report having to do with religion and actually some other topics also. It's very important.
Paula, did you want to speak, or Bishop Barron?
I want to say thank you, President Trump. You are the greatest champion of faith, and these were not just superficial woundings that we heard against people of faith. They were egregious acts that were very difficult to even listen to, that you would think wouldn't happen in a country like ours, but they did to 4-year-olds, 6-year-olds, little children, to moms, dads, communities, the rejection, the pain, the trauma that was caused simply because of faith. And it is just inconceivable that no one has stood up like you have stood up to fight for faith, which gives us meaning and purpose and hope and an ability to continue to be our better selves. So thank you for honoring people of faith and being the greatest champion with this religious commission, with 2 DOJ task force, with the historical White House Faith Office, and all the many other things you've done. We could sit here and list this all day, but your history will go down as the greatest history of a president that fought for people of all faiths, and we're grateful.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I'm very grateful too as well. The commission was a wonderful year. I enjoyed the meetings very much, and the witnesses were very impressive. People that we heard. I'm struck as I stand in this historic place looking over the portrait of James Madison. We spent a lot of time talking about the First Amendment. No one in this commission wants an established religion, but we all want the free exercise of religion. We sense that being limited in different ways. I think we also sense that behind a lot of the particular offenses, there was this great battle, you might say, with what I call the culture of self-invention, that my freedom determines value. I invent who I am. I determine what's good. And the avatars of that culture realize that the religious people stand athwart that view. We think they're objective goods, moral goods, spiritual goods, that we ought to align our freedom with. And I think that came through a lot in the witness testimony. But it was a wonderful experience, and I think this commission accomplished a lot. So God bless you for drawing it into existence.
Thank you very much. Great. Vince, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. Our founders know and wrote that no government has the right to become between the citizen and a relationship with God. It's one of the most powerful forces in life, in anybody's life. I'd say two things about this report. One, it's a body of evidence. We took testimony, so people can judge for themselves what people said in this report. It's a body of evidence. And to violate religious liberty is self-destructive in two ways. One, religious people, religious organizations provide so much fruit for society, whether it's education, healthcare. To violate the beliefs of those organizations and the people that work there would be undermining for all citizens and the type of value they get from that. And secondly, the people that defend our freedom writ large are often religious people because they get a power from above. And so if you go after religious people, you're actually undermining the very foundations of a freedom and those who will protect in this country.
But
so
it doesn't stop them.
No. Yes,
they make it worse. But we have a great defender right here, Todd. Go ahead. You're the one.
I'm ready. I mean, the most important part of what we did today, Mr. President, after a lot of hard work, is what you just heard Dr. Carson and Lieutenant Governor talk about, which is the work we have left to do. So we're not here saying, we're done. Yeah. We're here saying there's a lot of work left to do. I'm excited to do my part of the Department of Justice. I know that the White House, we're going to do our part together. And so everybody all the work that was done over the past 8 months sets us up for the next several years to make sure that we don't drop this and that this stays as important as it should be. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, John. Great job.
Mr. President, could I just say one last thing?
Yes, please.
On the issue of church and state, that was used as a hammer against almost all of our witnesses. One of the important recommendations that we made, if that happens in the future, if any superior person in the military, a superintendent of the school district, someone in the healthcare system, whoever uses that against someone who is simply standing up for their religious liberty or simply praying in public, that within a short amount of time, if they allege separation of church and state, that public official must in writing explain how that person has violated the Constitution. Because, again, the separation of church and state is not in the Constitution. And from this day forward, if anyone says that to you, and they're in public office, or serve in any agency in any official capacity, they have to point out exactly where you have violated the Constitution, because you have not. And from this day forward, that phrase should have no power over people of all faiths ever again in America.
Thank you. Okay, how about a couple of quick questions?
On Iran, Mr. President, you said that Iran violated the ceasefire.
Yeah,
will they face any consequences?
Well, you'll find out.
Do you consider the ceasefire to still be in place?
I don't like the fact that they took a shot yesterday, actually 4, we knocked down 3, at a ship. Not an Allied ship, but a ship, a very expensive ship. And it was fine, but it took a little beating. They shouldn't be doing that, so you'll find out.
Will the U.S.
you'll find out.
Will the U.S. respond? What is your message to
Will
Iran?
I respond? You're going to find out.
Sir, why do you think they did that if the talks, you've said repeatedly they're going well? What do you think the motivation is for attacking the ship?
They're a little bit different. That's why I think of it. 47 years, no president did what we're doing. So you just asked a question, you'll find out. Okay, I think we had enough. This is so important. I want to have it stand on its own. These people are incredible patriots. They're people of great respect and religion. They're among the most respected people in our country. And I just want to thank Dan and Ben and Todd and Vince and everybody for Paula, always Paula, because she's been here from the beginning. We have a White House office now on faith. Nobody thought that was going to happen. Never happened before.
How will the findings of this commission change how the government operates going forward?
Well, we're going to sell it. We're going to sell some of the things that we have. We have some incredible recommendations, but a recommendation doesn't mean anything. This group can sell, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to bring religion back even stronger. You know, religion's made it. It's been a tremendous resurgence in our country. I have not seen anything like it. I hate to joke, but if this were stock, it'd be very rich, because it has gone up like a rocket ship over the last year and a half. And I'm very honored to be sitting here. Maybe I had something to do with it. But they've made some very strong recommendations, and now we have to convince people to adhere by those regulations. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Press. Keep moving, please. Thank you, Press. Thank you, guys. Keep moving, please. Thank you.
It never happened before, I would say. And we have some very brilliant people representing two exchanges. First time you've ever come together and like, this is going to be very interesting. Well, what do we do it every day? Bring people together. That's what I'm known for. Bringing people together. So anyway, that's great. Nice having you both. Thank you, everybody. So let's see. The status is we have the press. They don't want to know anything about soccer/football. Fortunately, they won't be asking any questions on that. Nobody cares about that, right? This is about the Trump accounts, which are absolutely incredible for children. Children can, at the age of 18 and after, become very wealthy people, come into the world with essentially no money, and end up at a pretty young age being very rich. And that's something that we wanted to do, this country's wanted to do for 25 years. Michael and Susan, you've been so great. My Gerstner man has been so fantastic. You pushed everybody, it was so good. And I just want to thank everybody. It's a great honor. We'll have a little fun, and we want to be exactly on time. Are we allowed to be 15, 20, 30 seconds late? Typically, no good, Jeff, right? And I'm going to ring that bell. And does it stay in the White House? Because I'm not giving it back. I'm going to put that in the middle of the new ballroom. I'm not going to give that bell back. It looks to me like it's going to stay.
It's staying here.
Well, we'll watch the clock.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's so great to see you. It's so great to see you.
Great show this weekend. Thank you. I was down in your box.
Oh, the shows were good.
Thanks.
The speeches in Mount Rushmore, etc. Great to see you, sir. Hi, Ted. Hi, everybody. Let's get over here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you very much. Great. Okay, I'll get over at the bell, right?
Yeah, I'll introduce you, sir.
I want to stand next to these soon-to-be very rich people.
Good, so we'll get going, and good morning. I'm grateful to be with you on this historic occasion. The American dream belongs to every child, and today we are equipping the next generation with the right to claim their rightful share of it. Through Trump accounts, our president is creating an ownership economy where all citizens become shareholders. 38% of American families do not have any exposure to our great equity markets, but with Trump accounts over time, we can get that number to 0. Already, 6 million American children have signed up. 86% of them with families earning less than $200,000. U.S. Treasury, 1.4 million of those accounts will receive $1,000 from the U.S. Treasury to seed the accounts. When the markets open in just a few minutes, Right now. Trump accounts will benefit. So ring the bell, Mr. President. So I will just finish by saying, on the eve on the heels of our 250th anniversary, that this will be one of the president's most enduring legacies, and the great bounty of this will go for generations to come. It is my privilege to invite President Trump to speak after we had two firsts today. First time we've ever had the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. They do a joint opening, and first time we've ever had the opening bell run in the Oval Office. So, Mr. President.
Well, this is very exciting, an amazing achievement. People, we don't know this, Michael, but people have been trying to do this for 30 years, and they were so generous. He put up, and she put up, I think she more than him maybe, $1 both very much involved, but Michael and Susan put up $6,250,000,000, and I'm sure if I make a phone call, they'll do it again. The job they've done is incredible in life, so we want to thank you very much. Amazing, really amazing. And our friend from Micron, by the way, called me on Friday, and he said Micron's putting in $250 million, and he's done a phenomenal job. And $250 million, and many other companies and people are putting up tremendous amounts of money, and it's something I'm very proud of. Some people think it's going to go down as one of the most important things we've done during the administration. So after a truly historic weekend celebrating the 250th anniversary of America, today we're thrilled to officially launch the Trump accounts, and we had some beautiful people and speeches and tremendous crowds. We had the biggest crowd anyone's ever seen that unfortunately lightning caused it to leave, and everybody said, well, we'll do it another time. When I heard that, I said, no, we won't. Everybody had left. I said, we're not doing it another time. We're doing it on the 4th of July. And we actually started the speech on the 4th of July. We had to wait a little while, like a couple of hours, let the lightning pass. And everyone had left. And we came back, and they had 150,000 people came back from, they took their car, they're going back home to Texas. They turned their car around, they came back. You wouldn't believe it, 150. I think the 150 was more impressive than the 425 or whatever it was. It was pretty amazing. And Mount Rushmore, likewise, was so incredible. So people love our country. Our country is doing incredibly well. Strongest military in the world, has been displayed with Venezuela, who we're getting along with fantastically now. We've taken hundreds of billions of dollars of oil and given them hundreds of billions. They have more money than they've ever made. And we're doing very well. We paid for the war many times over. And then Iran, we're doing actually equally as well. We're just not getting the kind of coverage that we should. But we have eviscerated them military, and the bottom line is our country is strong. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. I was with President Xi 3 weeks ago, and I said that, and there was no argument. Nobody's arguing. We built it during my first term, and we're using it now for very good reasons, because in this case, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. We can never let that happen. On Saturday, July 4th, our administration deposited one-time seed contributions of $1,000 each into the Trump accounts of over 500,000 American children. It's a lot. And millions more will be getting additional contributions from generous donors like, as I mentioned, Michael and Susan Dell. They are truly incredible people. Go out and buy a Dell computer. He's not doing it for that. But I'll bet his business, Brad, has gotten even bigger. I have a son that loves their laptop. I have to tell you, no, I want a Dell. We're going to get him that money back one way or the other. And then I'll ask for another $6,250,000,000. We'll start the whole process all over again. No, he makes an incredible product, and right from the beginning. And Brad Gerstner has been pushing this, so he's a very successful man. Not quite as famous as the Dell family, right? It's Michael, but you are. He's an amazingly successful guy, and he's put up a tremendous amount of money. And again, I want to thank Micron and all of the companies that have already called me, and they're putting up a lot of money. This is nothing. This is not me, and putting the name on it was not my idea. That was a whole group of people that passed legislation, because this is all made possible only by the passage of the great big beautiful bill. And I knew that this was happening, but I didn't know. All of a sudden, I see my name on it in the bill, but I'm very proud to have my name. They think it would sell. They said, it'll sell better if your name's on. I said, look, leave it on. But I did not. I just want to, I did not ask for it. Michael, is that a correct statement? Did I ever go to you and say, Michael, don't put up the money unless they use my name? No. But I have done that in other cases. I will tell. In certain other cases, I've done that. Right, Scott? But not in this case. This is a very special kind of a thing that took place. It's in a way, it's a miracle. Nobody thought it was possible. Think of it. Children that are born without money, without any money. Great parents. They can have everything can be great, but they have no money. They can become very wealthy children at 18, and they can flip it over, or their people can flip it over into other vehicles that a certain age so that they don't take it out. I would recommend they probably don't take it out. But they can have a lot of money, especially if the market continues. Can you imagine if you did this during Trump a year and a half ago, where the market's gone up at levels? As an example, everybody said when I got elected, there's no way that during the 4-year period we'll ever hit 50,000 on the Dow. And we hit 50,000 on the Dow, I would say, in the first year, records. We had records. What NASDAQ has done, what the New York Stock Exchange, all the stock exchanges, 7,000 on the S&P was impossible during the first year, but they really thought it was impossible in 4 years, and we hit it before the first year. So if the children had invested the money a year and a half ago, we should have acted faster, actually. It's too bad. But it's going to go up. We have a hot country. It's going to go up. I think the market's going to go through the roof. When all those factories open, they're being built all over the country at record numbers. We have never built in the history of our country what we're building now. We have $19.2 trillion, and much of that money is going toward building factories, plants, AI, automobile. We've never built as many automobile plants. They're all over, and they're coming from all over the world. You know why? Because they don't want to pay tariffs. If they build their cars here, they pay no tariffs. So Japan, instead of making them in Japan or South Korea, instead of making them in Germany with Volkswagen and Mercedes and BMW, they're all building plants here now. They're coming out of Canada. They're coming out of Mexico. Mexico took a lot of our business. So did Canada. They're all coming back. I don't know what the countries are going to do, but they're all coming back. So today, with the ringing of the opening bell for the stock market, those accounts will now begin to grow right along with our booming economy. And I really believe we're going to have the biggest boom of all right now. You haven't seen anything yet. Between individual contributions and the seed funds, $800 million in new capital will be invested in the stock market for America's children this week. And I also think that we're going to be putting numbers in the budget, which will be really spectacular, because it's really not costing us anything. We're giving this money to children so they can have a good life. Very early on, they can have a good life. And we're going to be doing also something we're working on later on, and it'll be also, I think, very popular. And I guess the best definition is they have a plan in Australia, which people really like. It's really worked out very well, incredibly well, and very respected. And we're going to be talking about that with Congress and see if we can implement it. And that would be more for grown-ups as opposed to children, but it's something that's going to be great, I think, if we can get it done, and we're going to try very hard. But again, I want to thank Michael and Susan, Brad, and his son Lincoln, as well as Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, who has really been an incredible. If you're casting a movie, you put him as the Secretary of the Treasury because he's central casting. Do we agree? Wouldn't you say? More importantly, he's done a great job. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler, who's been phenomenal. Chairman of the SEC, Paul Atkins. Paul, thank you. What a job you do. You know, there's always been a problem there, and with you, everything goes smoothly. Although I have to say, Jay did a very good job also, right? During my first term. But Paul's been incredible. Everybody wanted Paul, and he's exceeded expectations, I will say, and everybody knows it. Thank you, Paul. Great job you're doing. Director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett. I didn't want to lose Kevin. I said, Kevin, you're at a huge disadvantage because selfishly, for a certain other position, and we have we had the two Kevins, and they're both great. And a friend of mine, Ted Cruz, we fought each other for a while, and he's a very tough competitor, and we became friends. We were actually great friends before the campaign, and everybody said, will this ever end? In fact, he was doing a rally. He said, could we do a joint rally? That's like you people doing a joint bell ringing. It's like crazy, right? But he said, remember we did the joint rally outside in Washington. We had a big crowd. And the media was saying, will it ever end? I said, it will, but not yet. But it ended. But then it came together better than ever before. He's done a wonderful job as a senator, highly respected. In fact, somebody said, would you ever appoint him to the United States Supreme Court? Because he's a brilliant lawyer, Ted. I said, well, he's the only one I can think of that's going to get 100 votes. All Republicans will vote for him. All Democrats will vote for him because they want to get him the hell out of the Senate. No, if I was having a hard time with getting the votes, I would appoint Ted Cruz. I get 100%, a guarantee. But when you look at all of the different things that have taken place, and you look at the international nature of what we're doing, because these are all international companies, so many I can't mention because they're too big to mention. The kind of money that's being invested is really, really incredible. So again, I want to, just because they're friends of mine, but the Exchange CEO, Jeffrey Sprecher, is here today. He's an amazing man, amazing success. His wife has done a fantastic job at small business. They call it small business, but when you add it all up, it's probably the biggest business in the world, right? But Kelly has been incredible. And Jeff, thank you very much. New York Stock Exchange President Lynn Martin, we want to thank. And NASDAQ Chair and CEO Adina Friedman, and NASDAQ President Nelson Griggs. We have all of them. This is a fantastic group of people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've got them all. Did you ever think you'd be in this? Well, this is a great room.
This is an amazing room.
I always, when people walk in, the biggest people in the world, people that are, in many cases, on your exchanges, right? They walk in and they look around. They go, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." I don't want to use names. Larry Ellison walked in, and he said, "What? Where am I? This is so." It takes a while. Actually, if you're negotiating, you have people at a great disadvantage because they're all screwed up, you know? It's a great place. I think it's the most important room anywhere in the world. So I thought it would be good to do this here, right? We seldom do that. But this was the first ever joint bell ringing between the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. And hopefully it won't be the last. I think it's, there are a lot of things you could do together that would be good. It's amazing the way you came together, and it was really easy. And they're competitors. But it's a great tribute, I think, to all of you that you were able to do this. People are talking about it. The SEC chair, let me ask you, are you shocked that they came? This makes your job, doesn't this make your job a little bit easier? Isn't it nice?
Yes, it does.
Why can't we do that with Democrats and Republicans? Maybe that's a tougher one. I think that might be tougher. We like borders. We like things that they don't like. But if parents have not done so already, and they are doing so in record numbers, they should go right away to trumpaccounts.gov and sign their child up for a free investment savings account. And again, a lot of people are people that are uninvolved in terms of they don't have the children, but or their children are older, but they're putting millions and millions of dollars into the accounts of poor children, financially poor children. And the parents can't even believe what's happening. So it's an amazing thing. But parents, loved ones, churches, and generous companies and individuals will be able to contribute funds to these accounts to grow throughout the child's life. And again, if we have a good market like we do now, they're going to become actually very rich. They'll have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think of that. Think of it, a child that has no money can have hundreds of thousands of dollars at a very, very young age. Accounts could grow to be worth numbers that nobody ever thought even possible just 6 months ago before we did this. And again, I have to thank Michael and Susan because they were so proactive. It was really amazing. I just think they're amazing people. So Trump accounts are about giving every American child a stake in America's future and getting some of the upside. And nobody's seen anything like it. And senators like Ted Cruz were at the forefront, and they should be really commended. People have to remember it in the future. It's like so many things I did were so good, and that's only got a 2-year life. Like as an example, Kevin, I closed the border. We have nobody coming into our country illegally anymore, and I want to make it in my speeches. And they say, "Sir, nobody cares about that. You've solved the problem." I said, "I'd like to talk about it." They said, "Nobody cares about the border. You've solved that problem." I said, "What kind of a business? You solve a problem, you're not even allowed to talk about it. Nobody even wants to hear about it. It's pretty tough." But this is something that they're going to be talking about for a long time because this is going to grow to levels that I think people have no idea. I already see the numbers. So there could be no better way to begin our 250th year. It is so appropriate. Think of that. We're doing it just at this time, this special time. It's pretty amazing. So I'd like to maybe ask Michael Dell to come up and say a few words, followed by Lynn Martin and Adina Friedman and Jeff and some of the people that had so much to do. I'd like to have our great Senator, Ted Cruz, say a few marks, and anybody else that wants to. This is a big celebration. This is a much bigger situation than anybody can imagine. And then we'll take a few questions, okay? Thank you very much. Go ahead. Michael, please, why don't you start it off?
Thank you, Mr. President. Susan and I are very honored to be here as we celebrate the 250th. You know, 42 years ago, I started a company in my dorm room with $1,000. And today, every newborn American child will start their life with $1,000 invested in America's greatest companies, compounding for the future. But Susan and I didn't want the children that were born just before to be completely left out. So we are contributing $6.25 billion, $250 to 25 million eligible American children born between the ages of 2016 and 2024. Invested in America's greatest companies for their future, for their tuition, for down payments, for startup capital, for a business. And to every business leader out there who hasn't already joined us, please join us. You know, 250 years ago, our founders in the Declaration of Independence, which is right there, pledged their fortunes to an idea. Today, we're pledging our fortune to the next generation of children. So to tens of millions of American children, your American story starts now. Thank you. Susan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am so grateful to you for making the Invest America Act happen. You have made investing in America's children such an important initiative for our country. These accounts are a statement of belief in our nation's young people, and believing in our country's children matters enormously. The incredible leaders of our future leaders of our country are the young children that we are raising today. Investing in America's children essentially means investing in our future. It's an investment in America's ability to grow, to lead, and to compete for generations. Michael and I have believed in this idea for a long time, and seeing this become real is fantastic. A child that has a financial account in their own name is a child who has so many more opportunities and hope. And as a mother, I know that every child deserves that. So parents, claim your child's Trump account today. Years from now, your child will thank you for it.
Mr. President, thank you so much for having us today. It is truly an honor to be here for this occasion. For the last couple of days, we have celebrated the thing that makes this country unstoppable, and that is our freedom. And out of freedom is born the American dream. And today, under your leadership, it is the purest manifestation of that American dream. You are offering the American dream to the youngest generation to allow them to participate in the great wealth of America. And as the president of the New York Stock Exchange, we couldn't be more proud to be here, more grateful to you and your leadership, and more optimistic about the future of this country, which is going to be led by this next great generation. We were born on the corner of Wall and Broad Street, where our first president was inaugurated. And we could not be more optimistic about this nation's future. Thank you so much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for inviting us into the Oval Office today to celebrate something very special. As Americans, over many, many generations, we have come together in unity. And today, the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange have come together in unity for a great common cause, the Trump accounts. The Trump accounts are underpinned by the U.S. capital markets, which are really the engine of the greatest economy in the world. But part of that promise of the markets is to make it so every American can share in that great economy. And today, with the Trump accounts, the next generation of Americans, every American, will have the opportunity to be a part and share in this prosperity of this nation. So I want to thank you for your vision, Mr. President, on behalf of NASDAQ and on behalf of the millions of families who will benefit from what you've created.